Hello, hello. So we are back with another um, indie game for the Yandere Game Jam, and it is called Flowers of Evil. Hopefully, I will be able to get through most of this at least. I have been sick these past couple days, and it's been like my voice will normally hold out for 15 minutes maybe, but yeah, we'll see how far we get. So let me pull up the any sort of trigger warnings for this game real quick before we jump on into it. Okay. So this is by a developer named Bayanajar. I'm gonna spell that. That's B-O-Y. Oh, boy in a jar. Oh my gosh, I promise I can read. Yeah, so it's boy in a jar, and for the content warnings we have stalking slash possession, yandere themes, kidnapping slash imprisonment, minor violence, body horror, and flashing lights. Do we have? It doesn't look like we have any sort of blurb for this. So yeah, let's just get started. Let me make sure that this is okay. This is a good size. Okay, warning. This is a horror game not intended for players under the age of 18. Gameplay will include stalking slash yandere themes, violence, body horror. Oh, okay. Well, if you need to go back and pause that to read that, that's perfectly fine. Okay, we're gonna go with the same name we usually use, Nicole. How beauteous the sun as it rises supreme, like an explosion that greets us from above. So this game is supposed to be immersed with a lot of like poetry, um, which I'm really looking forward to. So just a heads up. Oh, happy is he that can hail with love. Its decline more glorious far than a dream. I saw flower, furrow, and brook, I recall, how they swooned like a tremulous heart 'neath the sun. Let us haste to the skyline, 'tis late, let us run, at least to catch one slanting ray, ere its fall. You're late. Wake up. Ugh. The shrill blaring of your phone alarm drives you out of sleep, eyes squinting into the unwelcoming morning light. You're nested deep in a lair swath of blankets, nose chilled where it peeked out of the covers. Winter brought with it a brutal cold this year, and you wanted nothing more than to roll over and go back to sleep. Why did you think signing up for a morning class was a good idea again? Oh, I've so been there. Those 8 a.m. classes are brutal. Sighing, you roll out of bed. You're racked with shivers as your feet hit the frigid paneled flooring, and you wrap a blanket around yourself stubbornly as you make your way to the kitchen. You don't have a lot of time to get ready before class, but there's no way you're making it out of the house without a warm drink. Your cheap student your cheap student housing apartment wasn't much, but you tried to keep it clean and comfortable. It felt almost cheerful sometimes on mornings like this, going through the motions of turning the kettle on and setting the French press up to brew. Though there was every possibility that the dawning prospect of going out on such a chilly winter morning in no small part made your tiny kitchen feel cozier by comparison. I love the background, like the background images and music for this so far. You sleepily gather your things and make yourself somewhat presentable as the grounds bloom and begin to darken, the smell of fresh coffee already helping you to feel more awake and alive. Unable to dawdle any longer, and armed with a to-go mug and your warmest sweater, you step out of your little apartment and begin to head out into the emerging dawn. Luckily, you lived a fairly short walk from campus, and there was a tidy walking path skirting the bleeding edge of the local forest that cut a few minutes of time off of wandering through the linear edges of suburbia. Most mornings, you enjoy watching the sunrise start to peek out from between the trees in earnest, bathing everything in the kind of fiery glow that was just harder to appreciate when it was glaring off the windows of passing cars. It almost made getting up this early worth it, a feeling of untouched peace and solitude before the clamor of daily life and the chance to set in. Had the chance to set in. Almost. Lately, though, you hadn't felt as comfortable here. Something unsettled you in the usually familiar arms of the trees as they waved around you. It felt less like a greeting, and more like the clawed and desperate reach of silent, towering monsters watching your every move. Maybe it was just the building stress of schoolwork, or the result of one too many fitful nights of sleep, but the sharp awareness of eyes on you sent shivers down your spine nonetheless. Your, your breath quickens as you pick up the pace. You didn't want to spend any longer out here than absolutely necessary this morning. Maybe it was a little silly, but honestly, this route was just starting to give you the creeps. Your chest is pounding by the time you make it to the campus, flushed with anxiety and the knowledge that you're definitely running at least a few minutes late. This early, the hallways always felt so scant and abandoned. Most students had better sense than to sign up for classes that started before the sun had risen properly. Besides the shuffling, wearied presence of your first period biology classmates, the swing of the school was usually devoid of any signs of life. Biology, I wonder if she's a biology, or she or he, because they don't go into details on the gender. But yeah, I wonder if that's what they're studying for their major. Just the rustle of paper as you passed by loosely stapled notices and the acrid scent of cleaning products from janitorial services the night before. This morning, you don't see any of your peers making their way down the halls with you, and the squeak of your shoes on polished linoleum echoes loudly in your ears. You burst into your classroom with a pant, an apology already taking shape in your mouth before you have the chance to register that no one was there. What the heck? You glance around nervously, punching the passcode into your phone and pulling up your school email. Maybe there was a closure today? Nothing besides the usual automated reminders of assignment deadlines and school events. Taking a step back, you shake your head a little to clear it. There was no way you'd gotten the day wrong. What was going on? Out of the corner of your eye, you caught a glance of a sheet of lined paper taped hurriedly to the half-open classroom door. Guess you missed this in your hurry to make it in. If your professor's clumsy, nearly illegible script, or in your professor's clumsy, nearly illegible script, the note read that due to a personal emergency, your class was cancelled. There were no follow-up details, no instructions on what readings to do or assignments to finish. No notice of when she might be back. Weird. Usually teachers emailed stuff like this, and it wasn't so late that you wouldn't expect to see a few of your other classmates still milling around. You peer down into your go-to mug, or your to-go mug, taking a pull from your coffee as you sifted through your options. It seemed like a waste to come all the way out here for a canceled class period, only to go back home and wait a few hours for the next one. This has happened to me before. It is really the most annoying thing. But it is, and it is very weird that there's this note instead of an email. Maybe it'd be best to just stick around campus for a while. The library would probably be a good bet. Warm and quiet. Plenty of outlets in case you ended up doom scrolling until your next class instead of studying, and your phone's battery set for the consequences. Hell, maybe you'd even pick up a book you'd enjoy. It's been a long time since you've read anything just for fun. The library is similarly empty. It's quiet here, but it's well lit and cozy, and the smell of dusty pages seems to wrap you in a sense of calm you've been sorely missing since you woke up this morning. You tuck yourself into a corner, spreading your things out over a table, and glance around the stacks for something to keep you occupied. It seems you've made your little hideout near the poetry section. You knock back the rest of your coffee before idly making your way over to the nearest shelf, plucking out a book at random and flipping to the nearest page. The Heart of Trees. Are serially displaced. Pressed annually. Outward to a ring. They aren't really what we mean. By hearts, they so easily acquiesce. Willing to thin and stretch around some. Upstart green. That's a good one. Oh, it's a smooth voice. Oops. We'll adjust that in a second. A smooth voice tears you out of your reading, and you slam the cover closed with a start. Whoa, calm down. It's all right. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to scare you. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy. This is, from what I understand, the Yandere of the game. I'm loving the sort of black and dark green vibe. It's reminding me of my high school days. This was very much my style when I was in high school. Who the hell is this guy? You could have sworn you were the only person in here, and you definitely didn't hear anyone walking up. It is, though. A good one, I mean. Excuse me? The poem. The one that you were reading there, K. Ryan? A real heart does not give way to spring. A heart is true. I say no more springs without you. Well, that was corny. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, if I was in a library and some guy came up to me and started quoting poetry, it would be over. Yeah, and I mean, I do have a weakness for corny stuff, so it makes sense. Seeming to notice your blank stare, the stranger laughs a little awkwardly. I'm with her, by the way. What a strange name. You force a smile, shaking off your nerves. Nice to meet you. So, I feel like "did you need something" is really mean. Because he clearly came up to us just to talk to us because he saw that, we were reading this book of poetry that he likes. You like poetry then? I should have saved before that. You never know with some of these games when you're gonna get a bad end. His smile grows wide and he leans in a little closer. He smells odd, like wet dirt, rich and deep and somewhat sickly decompositional. I love poetry. The art of choosing each word so deliberately, in taking the bare, flawed composition of speech and elevating it into an elegant and succinct expression. It necessitates incredible strength, conviction, precision. Laying the soul bare just to flay it apart on the page. I find it very moving. Perhaps one of the more admirable aspirations of the human being. I think this is supposed to be him blushing. Sorry, my mouse is acting up. This green. That's cute. Wow, are you a poetry major? Something like that. You could say I'm well versed. Would you like to hear one? Taken aback by the offer, and more than a little curious, you nod. You can just recite one right off the cuff? Sure I can. Especially for such a pretty thing like you. Oh, now he's sitting on us. You feel your face heating up at the praise, and gesture for him to continue. Two well-assorted travelers use the highway, Eros and the Muse. From the twins is nothing hidden. To the pair is not forbidden. Hand in hand the comrades go, Every nook of nature, though, each for other they were born, each can other best adorn. They know only one mortal grief, past all balsam or relief. When by false companions crossed, the pilgrims have each other lost. If you were pink before, you've sure gone beet red by the end of his recitation, and it takes your sluggish brain a moment to catch up to your tongue as you fumble for a response. That's beautiful. Who wrote it? Emerson. It's called Love and Thought. I'm glad you liked it. I was hoping you'd be interested. I know a lot of poetry, and this section is usually so empty. When I saw what you were reading, I had to introduce myself. His, are you guys noticing his eyes? His pupils are like freaking blown. Jesus. Well, I'm glad you did. You feel flustered, slow in the draw. The sky was unusually smooth, and you sat awkwardly in the place between being charmed and having no idea how to react. Oh my gosh, that is like simultaneously the best and worst feeling. Thanks for sharing that with me. Wither smiled, his cheeks taking on a strange, almost sickly green tone. Maybe he was more nervous than he came across. Certainly. You're such a delight. Without a doubt the most gorgeous creature I've ever seen. Like some rare flower, all vibrant and alive on the first breath of spring. I don't know how vibrant I feel, but I am looking forward to spring. It's been so cold lately. I love how her response is so practical. After he's like literally like quoting poetry to her. Sunshine is on its way. Don't fret, Buttercup. Buttercup. Noticing your confused expression, Wither leans back against the bookshelf, looking contemplative. Not so much a fan of that endearment. How about Daisy, Sweet Pea, Yarrow, Magnolia, Amaryllis? It's hard to pinpoint what sort of specimen you might be. You've all their charms and spades, but why did you call us specimen, though? No, whatever you like is fine, but really you can just call me Nicole. Nicole. A lovelier sound than all the blossoms in the world. This is when I would start to be like, okay, that's a little too much, buddy. What a flirt. You blush darkly, looking down at your shoes. Trying to take hold of this situation a little more firmly, you clear your throat and sift through mundane conversation starters. So, what are you doing in the library this early? It's so empty around campus at this time. School's a safe landing topic, you assumed, if a dull one. Well, I needed to do something today. The thought of standing by and just waiting for my time to pass was agonizing. So here I am. Ah, I hear you. I also suffer from the agonies. You're half joking in the existential depressive stylings of most of your colleague peers these days, but something in your words seems to spark a light in Wither's wide green eyes, as if you had expressed some imitation of a deep kinship. I'm waiting to. My class got cancelled this morning, so I guess I'm stuck here until my next one. Oh, will you really have to go? Wither looks anxious all of a sudden, vulnerable, as if your answer would genuinely hurt him. Yeah, eventually. I still have an hour or so, but, I have to leave sometime. He nods solemnly, lower lip protruding a bit. I see. I was simply hoping for a chance to take you out, maybe walk you home. He looks at you hopefully, and your heart skips a beat in your chest. This was moving so fast. I mean, I should really go to class, but maybe some other? Are you sure? Wither interrupts. The anxiety on his face has deepened, and you frown, trying to make sense of it, place his strange behavior in context. Are you sure you have to go to class? I mean, didn't you say it had been cancelled earlier? What? It was cancelled this morning. That doesn't mean... What was that noise? That's a notification from your school email. Puzzled, you shoot Wither an apologetic glance before opening your lock screen and pulling up your inbox. Huh. It looks like your next class was also out today. Something about the professor having car trouble. But you weren't really sure what a growth in the engine could mean. And if you guys haven't noticed at this point, Wither has some leaves coming off of him. Yeah. So that wording is very suspicious, given his unusual appearance. How did he hack into our phone though? Because I'm assuming he's been the reason that we've had these class cancellations. Oh, weird. I guess my other course isn't happening after all. Look at his expression. Wither looked nearly giddy at that, which nodded at you a little. Was it normal for someone to look so excited that you were free? The two of you were essentially strangers. Yeah, but like, he likes you. Wonderful. That's sublime news. Would that mean you'd be willing to join me for the day? It's been so dull. I'd love to treat such a bright spot of sunflower to a pleasant afternoon. And he likes poetry, and he's giving us all these sort of nature-themed poetry quotes, so. I mean, I'm sure it's not a coincidence. Like, a date? A date, a courtship, a tryst, an engagement. Whatever you prefer, I'm asking. So what'll it be then, my pretty Amaryllis? Someone arrives looking beautiful. He wants to know you. What do you say? Okay, we're gonna save here since I made the mistake of not saving last time. Which was really unwise of me. I mean, as long as you guys are gonna be in a public space, I don't see the danger in saying no. Right? Just don't, wander into any abandoned forests with him. Sure, I'd love to. You've gone quite suddenly from surprise to flummoxed. But something about him was drawing in your interest. Surely it couldn't hurt. The rest of your day was suddenly freed up, after all. Wither beamed, placing a hand at the small of your back. Where would you like to go, sweet pea? That soft, earthy smell of his grew deeper as he came close. It was enough to make you feel a little lightheaded, and you appreciated the support of his hand on you, if nothing else. So near to him, you noticed he must have had pretty bad joints. They seemed to creak slightly as he moved, and his knuckles looked bulbous, almost a little swollen. But you haven't noticed the leaves, huh? Interesting. Well, there's a little flower shop in town you might like, since it seems like you enjoy them. I do. That sounds enchanting. Quite the romantic, apparently. Wither steered you towards the entrance of the library, smoothly reshelving the books you'd been leafing through at your meeting as he left. He took his palm off of you long enough to push open the door, then returned swiftly to your side, linking his arm in the crook of your own. Although I will say this is a little this is moving just a tad bit fast. I mean it's cute. I would go for it if some guy came up to me and started quoting poetry, but Campus was in the heart of town, and it was only a few giddy, mystifying minutes in Wither's company before you'd made it to the quaint little block that housed your favorite flower shop. This is so cute. I love this background. Normally, you try to avoid such a densely populated area. There was entirely too much of a chance of running into your classmates to keep you from feeling safe from the ever-looming threat of enforced small talk. This is gonna make me sound like a really horrible human being, but I mean, you don't have to make small talk with your classmates just because you're classmates. And I'm speaking from a perspective where I went to college at a pretty large university. So I mean, most of the time, and I had different people in every single class that I had. So most of the time I wouldn't even recognize my classmates, unless it was someone that I personally had, a friendship with. Gentrification had long since washed everything in a sense of false charm, and there wasn't much sense of meaning of community in most of the newer establishments. Here, though, you were more than happy to make the uncomfortable trek out of your usual circle to marvel at the fresh-cut local flora, arranged daintily in baskets and trailing bouquets. It had been a sorely needed place of respite when you needed to get out of the house, especially now that you hadn't been able to relax in the woods like you'd used to. Oh, so we used to chill in the woods. That would explain how he sort of seems to know us a little bit if he's from the woods. Which I'm assuming, given the leaves and all the nature references and the bulbous joints. Foot traffic had picked up a little, and you had to dodge through groups of chattering students as you pulled up to the block. It sounds like we're in a university town, not just near a university. Wither muttered something under his breath when a particularly distractible-looking girl knocked into you, but the clamor and the noise made it difficult to tell what he'd been trying to say. Oh, he looks angry. You guys see this? You turned back to apologize by reflex when you heard her make a sharp exclamation and began to fall behind you. But your gaze seemed almost oblivious to this. Look at those eyebrows, too. Those are some intense brows. Picking up the pace and urging you forward with enough speed that you had to match his stride to avoid falling over yourself. Okay, so yeah, he got real angry at that. By the time you reached the overflowing displays and Wither had slowed to a stop, you turned around to see if you could catch a glimpse of her, but she had already been swallowed up by the movements of the busy street. Hopefully she was okay. The sidewalk was thick with weeds where you'd heard her fall. Okay, so that's definitely was Wither's doing. I can see what you mean, Daffodil. These are exquisite. Startled, you turn your attention back to Wither, marveling over the premature spring blooms in the shop display. They were unusually bright today, and in full, glorious bloom, completely unlike the usual rumpled, sleepy-looking flowers tended to be this early in the year. Delicate little clusters of snowdrops crowded in among irises so richly purple they looked somehow fake. Lush towers of snapdragons, with not so much as a bud out of place. Pussy willows branches bound to petticoat camellias and dripping foxgloves. Your breath caught in your chest just looking at them, and you clung a little closer into Wither's side, breathing them all in. Exquisite was right. You didn't think you'd ever see flowers like this here. They looked like something out of a dream. Do you know any good poems about flowers? Girl, literally half of the words coming out of his mouth has been poetry about flowers. The words are hushed in your mouth, and you have to make a conscious effort to look away from the display to face him. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line, along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. You listen quietly, watching the little flowers bob in a gentle breeze, as if they were illustrating the concept, putting on some small performance just for you. I wonder if he's doing that, or if that's just, her interpretation. Your chest felt full to bursting as Wither finished out the poem, and you reached out to touch the petal of a plush and feather-soft violet. I found a meadow in the forest nearby not so long ago with a lot of these varietals. I don't know that word. I think that's how you say that. I can probably take you there if you like. Or maybe that's varietals. Yeah, varietals. Oh god, I butchered that one. A meadow. more perfect than a garden could ever dream to be. I think you'd enjoy it. But this is what I was worried about, because I bet it'd just be the two of you. His eyes flicked to your mouth before sweeping up to meet your own again. He offers you a saccharine little grin, and you do your best to return it as you turned the thought over in your mind. A spontaneous date was one thing, but following someone who was still more stranger than otherwise into the woods wasn't a picture of safety. Yeah, see me and this MC are on the main page. On the main page. On the same page. Is it far off? You let the weary note spread into your voice a bit, uncertain. Not at all. It's barely off the walking path that runs along campus. That's all it takes, though. I mean, like, I watch a lot of true crime stuff, and that's literally all it takes. Sometimes they can get away with it without even that. So I mean, yeah. There was a meadow just out of reach from your near daily commute, and you hadn't seen it yet. Wither seemed earnest about it, and you'd be awfully close to home if something were to go wrong. That doesn't matter, though! As if to clear up any concerns, he spread his hands wide. It's just a minute away from the path. I promise you it's worth it, little Blossom. Why don't you take some pictures and then you can show me those? In for a penny, in for a pound, you guess. A little nervously, you nodded. Oh, we don't even. I thought they would give us a choice whether or not to go, but they don't. And Wither guided you back to the edge of town, tugging you gently just beyond the tree line. Watery sunlight cascades over the leaves, catching them in a brilliant early afternoon glow. Everything was still and breathtaking, and for the first time, and you weren't sure how long, you didn't feel that same sense of watchfulness boring into you from between the trees. That's probably because he's right next to you, so he doesn't have to watch you from afar. You walked in nervous silence for a moment, crumbling leaves breaking apart underfoot. Wither smiled as he pulled you off the trail, and your heart began to hammer in your chest at a breakneck speed. Okay, the music just changed. That is never a good sign. Anxiety curled in your gut, a little tighter with each pace, and by the time you'd lost sight of the path, a lot of your boldness had evaporated. Okay, well, this doesn't seem good. Actually, you tugged back against the hand that held you, jarring your forward momentum. I'm not so sure about this. Maybe we can go back into town? Wither glanced at you quizzically, tightening his grip around your wrist. There's nothing to worry about, honeysuckle. It's just a little farther. I think I'd... You swallowed harshly, stepping back. I really think I'd rather go, actually. Oh god, he has that same expression he did when that girl ran into us earlier. That curious expression wilted into a sour grimace, and you yanked your hand fully out of his, as you felt the sharp bite of nails passing into your skin. Panic brought you to a sudden razor clarity, and you wondered what the hell you'd been doing. You had no idea who this guy was, and you were letting him guide you into the woods just because he batted his eyelashes at you? Was he really that charismatic? I mean, he was pretty charismatic. I'm gonna just put that out there. You fell back against the tree, heaving, and tried to collect all the strength in your convictions you could muster, willing your words to sound ironclad, non-negotiable. I'm going back to town. Wither stared at you for a few moments, just standing there, motionless as the forest around him. You felt a little sick under his gaze then, and with an anxious jolt, you realized that the feeling of him peering into you was distinctly unhuman. Intense and familiar as the feeling of the eyes you'd been imagining boring through the back of your skull almost every morning. Okay, so she's putting two and two together that it's been him that's been watching her. You moved in the direction the path had been, only to cry out when something caught you by the ankle. Wither was several feet away, still standing there with a glassy expression. What the hell had caught you? You felt your chin trembling as you slowly looked down, finding your foot encased in a thick shroud of vines. You were sure hadn't been there just a moment before. What are you... Let me see if I can put this in a way you understand. Do you know what a lichen is? Strictly speaking, a lichen isn't an isolated organism. It's a composite of both plant and fungal matter, a mutually beneficial relationship between a photosynthesizer and something akin to both circulatory system and structural support. It isn't even one plant and one fungus. Oh god, this is making me feel weird. They're composed of a myriad of different fungi, algae, and cyanobacteria. I don't like this background. These species are a simultaneous being, a cumulative experience that is greater than the sum of its parts. I can feel the disparate aspects of myself. I can feel how the mycelium filaments that connect the facets of my being speak to one another. And I can feel the growth that flows from me, takes form as I see fit. And that network speaks to the broader mycelium system that connects the moss, the flowers, the trees, the whole forest. And I have agency there too. The world is my garden. Okay. So he's a plant god? So I suppose you could say that's what I am. Okay, let's save. I don't think we can make a break for it. He controls like this whole forest. So what do you want with me? To take you home, dear heart. What else? There really is a meadow, you know. If you just be patient, you'll see it's really very lovely. After all, I made it just for you. Um... The trailing vines curl tighter around your calves, drawing your legs tight together and hitching your knees forward in one fell swoop. You wobbled, losing your balance with a gasp. Oh, okay. I thought he was cute when we first met him, and now he just looks a little crazy. Where there caught you as you fell, laying you out on the mossy forest floor. I'm so happy I have you. You're such a beautiful little flower. I want you to flourish here. Let the world go, sweet Dahlia. I'm here now. It's just gonna be the both of us here. Forever. Can we talk about this? Okay, so we got the ending. It never ends. I'm assuming that's not the good ending. At least this one didn't end in death. I know the bar is so high, right? With a lot of these Yandere games that I've been playing lately, that is how it's ended. Um, like what was it? Parasite in Love. I mean, our love interest was a brain-eating amoeba that literally killed us. 1016, we're in the sixth circle of hell, and he never directly kills us, but he does send us downward death if we are like really cold to him. So yeah, I don't know how many endings this game has. I'm looking at the oh, here it is. So there's 2 endings total, and there's 4 planned because this is apparently still being updated. But yeah, that was interesting. Ooh, do we want to go back? Yeah, let's try to get that other ending real quick. So I'm assuming we get this other ending by sort of being like dismissive and distant. Sort of like, do you need something? No, just killing time. I like the poetry section. Usually it's a little empty around here. I was so excited to see you reading something familiar that I got a little ahead of myself, I suppose. I didn't mean to frighten you, honestly. I simply never had the privilege to talk to anyone about it. Oh, no worries. You're fine. Geez, you sort of feel bad you don't have more to say on the topic. It was just the first book you picked up, after all. It's not like you asked for his opinion, though. He steps a little closer to you, and a strange, damp, earthy smell envelops you. It's almost stifling. Do you have a favorite... Oh, this is him. Do you have a favorite poet? I'm more than happy to make a recommendation, too. I could even recite you something if you like. What do you say? Something as pretty as you deserve to hear, a little bit of lovely. Do you like that poem, Treeheart? This guy was acting seriously bold, especially considering you're practically alone, and the day hadn't even had a chance to start properly. Who even had the energy to flirt this early? Hey, I mean, uh, you gotta take them opportunities when they come. Something about that question was raising the hairs on the back of your neck. It was obviously meant a little more than just determining your preference of the piece. You look him over a little more critically, really taking your time to feel him out. If he was self-conscious, he didn't show it, gazing back at you with a calm, metered expression, waiting for the answer with a kind of ease that said he had all the time in the world to hear you out, and all the patience to sit through it. Okay, let's save again. Okay, we're being cold this time, so let's do It Wasn't For Me. It wasn't for me, sorry. All this was much too forward, much too fast, much too early in the morning for you. Maybe Wither was a nice guy, but you weren't interested in hearing more poetry from him right now. Weren't so sure you were interested in him at all. Best to let him down early and easy. I'm really just here to relax a little bit before class. I think I'd rather be alone if that's okay. Damn, she is like straight to the point. Whoa, he looks. Oh, look at the expression on his face. He looks really crushed. Was he really that interested in you from the few minutes you'd been talking with him? You've barely gotten a word in. Oh, but actually, I really think I ought to get going. There was no way you were looking forward to hanging out around awkwardly while Wither was sitting here. At best, you'd have to watch him sulk and feel bad for shooting him down, which sounded like a real day ruiner. Oh, we are savage this route. At worst, well, honestly, he was starting to give you the creeps. You'd rather not find out what a worst case scenario looked like. You wave a stiff little goodbye and hurriedly shove the book back where you found it. See you around. You hoped your clipped tone was enough to let him know that you didn't, in fact, want to see him around, but you didn't want to take your chances. Oh, he's angry. No, wait a minute. This is happening all wrong. He reached out to grab your arm, and you stiffened up immediately at the intrusion. Long, slender fingers knotted at the joints like gnarled roots, brushed over the crook of your elbow. His skin was smooth and far colder than you were expecting. It had an almost spongy texture to it as it pressed into you, and a sharp jab of fear pierced your chest. It felt confounding, incorrect somehow, inhuman even, as his hands tightened around you with unexpected strength. You can't leave yet. Pretty flower, don't you see? I'm here for you. If you didn't like the poem, I know other ones. Dickinson, maybe. Wild nights, were I with thee. Is that any better? Oh, I don't know this word. Sweet hyacinth, forgive me. I wanted to charm you better than all of this. Oh, he's so sad. Or maybe it's a game you want. I'll throw you a line and you make a dash. Fear of the unknown, of the way I feel for you? Afraid perhaps to feel it back. But Buttercup, that's all a part of it. 'Tis this invites, appalls, endows. Flits, glimmers, proves, dissolves. Returns, suggests, convicts, enchants. Then flings in paradise. Let go! You try to keep your voice firm, but it wobbles in your throat, and you end up sounding about as afraid as you feel. I understand her trepidation though, because he is being really assertive here. His grip had grown painfully tight as he'd gone on, and you feel tears beginning to beat up in your eyes. There would be no convincing illusion of strength from you. Fear radiated from your every aspect, you were sure, from pallor to the tremble in your bottom lip. Surprisingly, that seemed to do the trick, and his hand recoils at lightning speed, disappearing into the baggy sleeves of his hoodie. He looks chastised, but you're not taking your chances. You're determined to shake this weirdo right now, and you don't feel particularly forgiving this morning. I'm sorry. Fuck. I'm really making a mess of this. Stay away from me. You're already stepping away, angled towards the door. No chances. Please, dear heart. Precious petal, let me try again. You don't care to stick around and find out what he has to say. You make your way to the door at a hurried pace, charging through campus without a backwards glance. Well, it wasn't an ideal place to wait, but bumping around the hall sounded like a better idea than being hit on like that and having to play nice. Jesus. Oh, I don't like her calling him that. I know he was really he needed to back it up, but I don't like her using that word. What a freak. Restless and agitated, you pull out your phone and start scrolling through through the endless deluge of content to keep yourself distracted when hell, what is it now? An email notification pops up at the top of your screen, listing your school address as the recipient. You thumb it open, cursing under your breath as you read the subject line. Great. Apparently, your next class was canceled for car trouble? Though you're not sure what your professor means by growth in his engine, so this is the same as with the other route. This day really could have stood to go better for you. You stuff your phone back into your pocket with a huff. What a waste of a nice morning. The events lay heavy and bitter in the pit of your stomach. It looked like you'd have the rest of the day to yourself, though. Some time to collect yourself and cool off, if nothing else. You still felt shaken by your run-in with that creep in the library, though you couldn't put your finger on what bothered you the most about it. Okay, we're gonna save here. Because my voice is giving out a little bit. But yeah, we'll see what the rest of this route looks like. I have no idea what to expect. I have mixed feelings about whether he is much more like along the lines of what I typically enjoy for my Yandere characters. He hasn't stabbed her with a fork or set her on fire or anything, which is, believe it or not, a step up from a lot of these other games out here. Although you might already know that if you frequently play games with yanderes. And there has been no cage involved, so that's great too. Anyway, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below. And I also really love how they've really infused this game with poetry. It just ticks all my dork boxes. So yeah, see you guys next time.
What have you been doing all this time, huh? Last time I saw you, you had your head buried in her underwear drawer, you creep.
Oh my god. Okay, that escalated quickly. Oh.